have any ideas on how to improve the process of a student moving into a leadership position, whether he's a freshman, sophomore, junior, regardless of what year in college he's in, and he comes in to Cypher, say, and he becomes a president or vice president? Do you have any ideas how to improve that procedure of moving in now to a leadership position when maybe in their entire life they never held something like that, and now they're facing these strong responsibilities?
Lots of thoughts, but maybe I'll keep it very simple with it. That again, it's that idea that while you're here at UNF, part of that experience is supposed to be living through these types of processes. It's supposed to say that put yourself out, challenge yourself to gain the skill sets that you need to acquire to be an effective leader, and then practice them. So what better place than the university to be involved in programs like Students in Free Enterprise? There are many other examples of transformational learning, but it's that buzzword again. It's transformational learning. It's what sets you apart and gives you more value. You've got to just dive in and take a chance. And I think that's probably the most difficult thing for students, because it's an unknown thing. It's a kind of a scary experience, and what the heck are you getting involved in? So you've got to just take that opportunity and dive in. The leadership certificate comes to mind for me too. That it's a great way of getting involved in what does it mean to be an effective leader, what are the skills required, you learn them, and then you combine that with Students in Free Enterprise, and now you have the experiential component. So students start small. You take the first step. You join the group, you start the leadership certificate, you take a class, you work on a project, you then become a project manager, you then become an officer, you then find a mentor. That's, I think, the formula.
Would you say that Hector Alvarado shows leadership traits?
Well, I think absolutely. Look at the guy, and look at him here. We don't call him Drill Sergeant Hector for nothing. But when you look at his ability of setting a vision and a goal for others, and then getting them enthusiastically involved to actually achieve that vision, that's what leaders do. And that's what you see as an example of every year with Hector, with his involvement with Students in Free Enterprise. Absolutely can. And we're here at UNF today, and if you look outside, you'll see the College of Health. And it's actually the Brooks College of Health. And that's named for Brooks Brown. Brooks is my mentor and had a tremendous impact on my ability as a leader to succeed, and then for me to actually be successful with my company. He was my mentor when I worked at a healthcare organization here in Jacksonville doing strategic planning. He gave me the inspiration and I'd say the courage to actually go out and start my own company. In addition to that, he gave me one of the first checks as an investor. So very inspirational person. I am probably one of many thousands of persons that he has mentored, but I feel to be very fortunate to have had the ability of meeting him and knowing him.
Would you also say that through your time since you've been working at SIFE over the years, somewhere along came Mr. Hector Alvarado? Would you say you served as a mentor for Hector or something along the line?
I'd like to think I serve as a mentor for any and all SIFE students. Hector's an interesting case. I knew this guy through the SIFE program, and every year within SIFE you can pick out the 1, 2, or 3 students that really are exceptional, and Hector was one of those individuals. He had the clear desire to succeed, he had the desire to learn, and then had the ability that I think is inherent in leaders. He had those characteristics that not everybody has, but he did. I'll never forget that moment when I was judging an Atlanta regional competition where Hector came back into the room, sat down at the table and said, "Well, I'm employed now." I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, did my presentation, these guys here wanted to hire me, and then I've got a job." That happens very infrequently.
What advice would you give someone going into a leadership position for the very first time?
I'd say this. I'd say that to understand, well, first, to take a deep breath, be calm, be confident. 2, understand that there's a difference between being a leader and then being a manager. And then I think that most of us are probably taught to be managers, and that means getting the daily tasks done, ensuring that things happen that within our job responsibilities. But to me, being a leader, I'd like the first-time person to understand that leading means vision. Leading means that having other people understand what the goals of the organization are, what the vision is, where are we trying to head, and then trying to help others achieve those goals. I'd finally say to them that as new leaders, you should be a mentor to other people too, because I firmly believe that giving back to others is extremely important, and that's the way as a society that we're just better off.
What advice would you give someone going into a leadership position for the very first time?
Those are all fine examples. I think everyone has their own ability. Use it wisely, and always educate. I think listen and educate. I think education is a very important part where I've become who I am, and I think you need to transfer that knowledge down to your team or your organization.
What is the biggest challenge facing leaders today, Hector?
I think culture. They're given a team, or they're given a culture, or they're given an environment that they're not used to. So they have to adapt, they have to build a team together, people they can trust and lean on, and hopefully you involve your mentor or your soundboard people and make right decisions.
What is one mistake you witness leaders making more frequently than others? Hector.
Just listening to their people. I think that's the number one thing that I see that can make or break an employee or any subordinate. They can go against the grain or lose faith in what that direction and vision is that you have if you're just not listening back to some of their comments and understand where they're coming from in their position and put yourself in their shoes.
There's a general quote, and this question is for both, and I guess one will answer it first. What does lead by example mean to you, Mr. Hayes?
I think that individuals, as a leader, individuals want to follow strong leaders. And leading by example is actually showing every day, all the time, that you stand by what you mean. You're setting a vision and you're giving an example to others of how to meet and fulfill that vision. You're also out, and leading by example means to me is encouraging others and then giving them the appropriate responsibility, authority, and then resources to accomplish their goals and meet your vision as a leader.
I say it's a story. I think every life has a story, and I think every person and human being that you touch has a story. It's your job as a leader to understand each of those stories and how you can help or be there for somebody in their particular story.
Hector, do you believe that you have walked or walking a path that should be followed?
If people follow, I hope it's just for the good things that I've done. We've all made mistakes, obviously, and we've all learned having people, but I think the one thing I'd like to people to follow is the soundboard. I have many people that have been there for me, including Mr. Hayes and Mr. Pergazim, even Dr. Stiegel, and all my faculty advisors when I was here, that enabled me to jump forward above and beyond what students have done. But like I said, I couldn't have done it without having a great person ahead of me to be a prime example. But
Mr. Hayes, what does the quote, "You must first follow in order to lead," mean to you?
I think it means that leaders need to have that experience first. They've got to have the ability of understanding what it means to be an effective leader. What are those capabilities? I think you've heard Hector mention listening. I think empathy is another prime example. And I think that practicing those types of things is ultimately what allows us to be more successful. So when we talk about at this university transformational learning, we speak about practicing what you preach. That's a prime example of why we think that students need to have the ability of experiencing prior to graduation. You're just therefore more effective. So if you're following and you're looking at those mentorship roles and looking at people that are mentoring you, you're going to pick up on those characteristics and those skill sets that will allow you to be more successful.
Hector, what are you finding the most rewarding about your position as a SIFE person?
I think just people that can come back, like I came to David Hayes and I said, I got a job. And I think that's the most rewarding, satisfying thing is everyone has come to college to get education, one, but more importantly to find their role in society. And if you can help them, mold them to get them to be proud of what they've just chosen to do as a career or profession, I think that's beyond satisfaction. That's almost like a destiny that I need to fulfill, is to make sure that I can help over thousands of students find their goal or their happiness in their career.
What is your favorite part of work?
I think people. I've always been a people person. I always enjoyed talking and relating well with others. As would be on my development plans, but I think the most satisfying part of my role at work is I get to interact with different people every single day. And I really like to hear their perspectives and their points of view, whether it's a retailer, a distributor, or a supplier role. Everyone has a different aspect and different element. It teaches me to become a better leader, a better listener, and a better follower.
Hector, what SIFE interaction was more pleasurable over the years?
Projects.
Projects?
I will say that I'll take that to my grave with me. As much as I love social interaction and students getting involved, I think you find a different element when you get involved with projects. You find a piece of you that is missing, and it kind of equates to where you want to head. It kind of grounds you, and it's not volunteering anymore. It's a piece of your life once you do a project.
You mentioned projects. Out of the many projects you've been involved, can you pick one out of the many?
I'll tell you one that I wasn't involved, that I wish I was involved with, and I actually, as an alumni, became more involved. It was Wi-Fi Worldwide. It was one of the most heartfelt projects that I've seen in a long time. It started years ago with giving a couple $1,000s and some chickens and some T-shirts, and it developed to educating Zambia, a community on how to use a computer, and not only that, how to get the computers to them, and then how to send 3 SIFE kids over there. I wish I was one of those SIFE kids, but I think that is what SIFE it stands for, and I just wish that was that project I created, but someone else did, and I applaud all their efforts. It was wonderful.
You know, we have a project called CEL, Connect, Educate, Lead.
Absolutely.
Are you aware of that project?
Absolutely. I appreciate the project leader, Juan Carlos, and everything he's done. I think CEL's going to go far. I wish that would remain a SIFE project in every way, and I think it still can, because as I alluded to earlier today, that every organization can create a project. Any human being can create a project. SIFE can take it that one next step. And with SIFE, I think CEL, my goodness, it's...
Can you name a person who has had tremendous impact in your life as a leader?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say David and Mr. Vergazin were two of my... you're at a transition in your life, and you're going to get your first job and your first career. That is supposed to be what guides you throughout your career. And I believe both of them directed me in that I was making the right decisions, and they affirmed that. And staying active inside. They showed me that you can stay active inside for years to come.
Is there anything you'd like to say to any other current officers of UNF SIFE?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Graduate, get a job. And if anything you ever need, I think David and I myself are going to be there for you any step of the way.
Yeah, and prior to that, work hard, do good work, great projects, make us all proud.